What's up, fanboys and fangirls? Welcome to episode number 28 of the Fanboys Anonymous Group Meeting Podcast. I am your host, Tony Mango, and joining me on the panel tonight, Stephen Wago.
Pikachu.
Pikachu. God, what if we did that the entire time? Just said our names, just Tony Mango, Tony Mango.
Oh, jeez.
We also have Kaylin Ferris.
Pokemon, Pocket Monsters, Pokemon are the champions.
Yeah, that's all. I don't recognize that at all.
That was Digimon. He was taking the piss.
Oh, that's why I don't, because fuck Digimon. And Angie Williams. Ditto Williams, I should have said. So, if you haven't figured it out by now, we are going to be talking about Pokemon today, you know, because that's what it says in the title and everything. This meeting's officially been called to order. The reason why we're doing this is because Pokemon's turning 20 years old on the 27th of February, which makes me feel incredibly old. And the other day, I'm going to start this off by saying, I was talking to my niece, watching them. She had on Pokemon in the morning, and I didn't know that they were fans of this at all, my nieces and my nephew. So I'm watching this, and, you know, it's got the newer Pokemon on there, and she starts saying something about how, you know, it's like something that I used to watch when I was a kid, because he had also watched something with the Spider-Man and like the different Marvel characters and something with Transformers too. So it's just like, man, all the shit that I used to watch and stuff when I was a kid, it's still around, which just proves my generation's awesome. But I pointed it out to her that, you know, this is going to turn 20 years old, and I'm the same age. I was the same age when she is now, when Pokemon came out. And she just gave me this look of just like, holy shit. And I just felt it of just like, God, I'm old. So 20 years old now, lots of things for us to reflect back on.
I imagine that you picked up a skateboard and like tore your knee out later.
Give me your toys. So cool. They're mine now.
Midlife crisis, Tony. I'm
right.
waiting.
I'd go to school instead of them. You know, why not? But we got a lot of things we're going to reflect on here. We have different age ranges that we are and different experiences that we've gone through for the different Pokemon games and the movies and the anime and all the side things, because Pokemon's just all over the place right now. But I want to start this off with something really simple. Starter Pokemon. You got Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle for the first generation here. Wago,
well,
who did you
technically Pikachu and Eevee too.
No.
Well, you couldn't pick Eevee.
Not for Red and Blue.
Yeah, but for the first generation, Yellow's considered the first generation.
That's true. Based off of Red and Green. Let's put it that way then. Who did you pick, Wago? Were you leaning one way or the other, or did you kind of spice it up?
So, I never really had a major favorite Pokemon when it came to the original three. I like to cycle them all in and out. But if I had to say there's one that I used the least, it was Bulbasaur.
Damn right. I hate Bulbasaur.
It was just such a, like, it's like, so I wonder what you evolve into. Oh, a bigger Bulbasaur. Oh, even bigger Bulbasaur. At least with Squirtle, it's like, oh, now you're a giant turtle with a cannon. That's pretty fucking cool.
Right?
Or, oh, you're not a lizard anymore. You're a dragon. I like that. If I had to pick one just based on some of the things they did with it later, I'd say Charizard's the main man, though.
Kaylin, what about you? Who did you pick?
Well, typically in the different generations of games, I tend to go for the water starter. But with the first one, Red and Blue, well, I had Red. I chose based on who I liked best from the anime. And he's the cutest. He's number one. And he is Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur was my starter. I know you guys were just kind of throwing him to the curb there a second ago.
He's much more number two.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Bulbasaur...
That's Ivysaur.
Yes. Bulbasaur is the only Pokemon that's been part of one of our Smart Out Moment Smack Talk outros.
Yeah, he's got that going for him.
Yeah, he's a bitchy little fucker, isn't he?
That's why I like him, because he's grumpy. I like the grumpy characters.
Angie, were you leaning one way or another with those three?
Yes. Fire has always been my favorite element in every single Pokemon game I've ever had and played. I've started with fire.
See, the first game that I ever had was Red. And when I originally got into Pokemon, I remember the first thing I ever saw Pokemon related. I was over a friend of mine's house, and he was playing it, and he had like a couple stickers on the wall and whatever, and he was specifically in Lavender Town, and I could just hear bing, 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 bing coming from his video game. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you playing? This is annoying as shit. And he's like, oh, it's Pokemon. I'm stuck on this thing, and I can't get around this ghost.
I'm sure we're gonna talk about it later, like the whole Lavender Town syndrome thing. But just to touch on that theme, most goddamn annoying piece of music in any game soundtrack.
Damn right. And we're gonna go deep into some conspiracy theories and different things like that later on for sure. But he was showing me, and he's like, I'm trying to catch this Ghastly and whatever, and I was just like, this is fucking dumb. What the hell? And like 2 months later or so, here I am at Toys R Us buying Pokemon Red. Mm-hmm. And another friend of mine was giving me kind of a breakdown. I'm talking to him on the phone at my house, and I'm like, all right, so what do I do? And he's like, all right, you're going to want to pick Charmander because he's the best. And I'm like, all right, cool. And he's like, you pick out your name, and you do this, you do that, like so on and so forth. So, of course, I went with Ash because, of course. But Charmander was the dude that I started off with, and I stuck with Charmander for the longest time. When I eventually bought Blue, I picked Squirtle. And eventually I was just kind of like, you know what, I never picked Bulbasaur. And as soon as I did, I was just like, I regret this so much. Because I looked at it this way, like, Charmander is the one you have to put a little bit of effort into, and then he pays off. Squirtle's like the middle ground, but Bulbasaur is like the super easy for the first 2 rounds, the first 2 gym leaders, and then is pointless. What do you guys think about that? Is Bulbasaur just, like, the easy way out? And then, I mean, I know that you guys like Bulbasaur because he's cute and stuff like that, but, like, at the end of the game, having him be grass and poison, he's weak to, like, everything.
I wouldn't say that he's the easy way out. He's not that easy in the beginning, because in the beginning, you're facing, the first one is Brock, right?
Yep.
It's Brock.
And the easy one would be if you had Squirtle.
But then it goes Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Charmander.
Yeah.
But Bulbasaur is good for Misty.
So was I the only fucker who played Pokemon Yellow and really got frustrated with the choices at the start? So trained it up to level 20 and just had Pikachu slam his Onix.
No, I didn't play Yellow. I thought it was stupid.
Yeah, I didn't play
Same
Yellow
with,
either.
I played every single
Crystal.
title.
I was like, Yellow? What, you have Pikachu following you? That's
I thought
dumb.
Crystal was a big improvement on Gold and Silver.
I never played Crystal, but I do like Yellow quite a bit. Although I've always been the type that, like, in Gen 1, fuck Pikachu. I want a Jolteon.
Well, here's the thing. With Generation 1, if you did get Yellow, you could put Pikachu in the PC.
Yeah.
So I thought he followed you the whole time.
No, not if you put him in the PC. So, Yellow's the ultimate version. You get all 3 starters.
Damn right, yeah.
So even if you don't want your Pikachu, just stick him in the PC.
Yeah, you got to put up with him for, like, a couple little things here and there where you need to get certain items because he needs to be happy and shit. So you just give him a couple of protein and he's fine. But no, you get the Charmander and Squirtle at that time, and you're just like, dude, my team's fucking badass.
I thought it was sort of cheating.
That's a little cheating.
It was just an extra game to make things easier and just a little sideline thing.
Wasn't that great? Couldn't get a Magmar or Electabuzz on Yellow.
Really?
Boom. There you go.
That's what you get for playing it.
Then again, though, they kind of suck.
You still need them to catch them all. The slogan is catch them all.
Magmar kind of sucks. Electabuzz is pretty rad.
Yeah, Electabuzz can get pretty good.
Well, what about the idea of gotta catch them all? I mean, that was something that this is actually marketed as, like, you have to do this as part of the game. But it never ends up being actually some part of the game that you need to do. Even in the first generation, where they had the least amount of Pokemon, you go through all the effort, you go through, like, these impossible, convoluted scenarios where you have to catch an Abra through, like, either use a Master Ball, or you gotta be the real quick thing to paralyze it, and you gotta trade certain things over and whatever. You finally get 150, and you go, oh man, I'm so gonna get Mew. And they go, here's a certificate. Thanks. That shit ruined me from being like, you know what? Not gonna do this ever again. I admit I did do it with Gold and Silver, because I was just like, maybe they learned their lesson this time around. They're actually going to give you Celebi. And they didn't. And I'm like, fuck you. No.
I was pretty young when Pokemon Red and Blue came out. So when I used to buy the gaming mags and try, like, all the weird rumors. I faked fucking Lance with Magikarps.
Yep.
Yeah, like I did the stupidest shit and got nothing for it. And that was back when game rumors were the best too. Like, if you went to the water at this certain time, you'd find Peekaboo, or if you did this, you could find Bill's secret garden at the back of his house. There was so many cool rumors back then.
See, I didn't believe any of that shit.
No, I didn't either.
Well, except when it was actually proven with the one trick with the where you could duplicate items.
Yeah, that was true for a bit.
So I did that.
I have a list of conspiracies we're gonna get into. I do want to go back to Peekaboo. I do want to go back to Bill's Garden and stuff, but
yeah, I was born in 91. Red came out in like 96, so I was pretty young.
Like 97 here, I think.
yeah, 96 in Japan, 97 here, I think.
So yeah, I was pretty fucking young, so the rumors were easy for me to buy in.
But did you guys go through the effort of catching them all?
See, that the thing
Once.
was, Kaylin's big passion was to battle and like actually like outright beat the game. Mine was to actually search the game and collect everything to
Yep.
get them all, and I have.
And see, that's how we worked too. We worked in pairs because she had blue, I had red, I had silver, she had gold, and so on and so on. So
And we would play them together.
yeah, we'd play both of them, and then the ones that we couldn't get in the different versions, we'd trade over. And so since we were, had the link cable back then when you had to actually physically connect it, to trade to evolve like Golem and Gengar and guys like that, Machamp, the ones that you would need to trade over to evolve them, we were already set.
Yep.
So that's, yeah, actually, Angie you got all of them legit all the way through, what, Black and White or something?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
No Game Shark codes and stuff?
Nope.
No.
Although
So
I did buy an action replay with the Game Boy Color, just so I could hack and get certain items and things like that. I didn't use it to duplicate Pokemon, at least not at that point, not until I got into my Diamond Pearl Platinum days. Then I was really hacking the shit out of it. But as far as getting guys that I didn't normally get, as far as, just saving time, no, I actually went through the effort and I, cut all the legendaries, the legit way. We got the event ones like Mew, where you'd have to actually go to Toys R Us or GameStop.
We got a lot of Mews because of what we did at Toys R Us.
So you'd have to go to Toys R Us or GameStop and bring your game, and then they either connect it or after a while with the newer generations they had the Wi-Fi where you could just download it. But before that, we would go to Toys R Us, take our Game Boys, plug them in with a cable, they transfer it over, and that's
Yep.
got them all the hard way.
I never went to a single event thing, and I always thought it was kind of dumb. Like, what am I going to show up at your place for you to give me a Mew? I want my fucking Mew,
Well, that's your own goddamn fault. That's why you don't have a Mew.
That's why you had to hack to get it.
I
You
hacked
gotta leave
that
your
shit.
house.
I got that through the Game Shark that my friend had. It was just like, yo, let me borrow that real quick. All right, now I got a Mew. Oh, man, this is going to be awesome. Fuck, it sucks.
And he's level 100 and shiny, and he knows all the good moves, and he
this
has
is before
31
shiny was even
IVs
a
across
thing.
the board. Yeah.
I still have my original Mew. Has never been in a battle, but has stayed with me since Fred.
From like 99 or 2000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Never
know
been in a
what?
battle.
When you finally got Mew, it's such an underwhelming fucking Pokemon because it's just like even all the way around. And yeah, that has its positives, and it's like got an unlimited moveset. But at the same time, it's just kind of there's better options.
It is the cutest, sweetest Pokemon in the world, and I just love how they made him sound in the movie.
He is very cute.
Jirachi is cuter.
Togepi.
Yeah, I don't know. Togepi, yeah.
He's
Oh
cute.
man, I'd love to punt the shit out of Togepi.
Oh,
Oh, you just watch the fucker go flying and go Togepi. It would be great.
Well, for a while, I mean, it seemed like in Generation 1 that Mew was God, basically. So I was just like, oh, well, once you catch
Well,
God,
yeah,
you're
they-
fucking awesome.
no, I
They
always
gave
got
the
the
impression
idea.
that like it was all Pokemon evolved from it because it was the DNA Pokemon and there was a whole bunch of other shit. Like at least that's how the movie portrayed it.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of got the feeling that Mew was like the protector of nature and sort of started it. Like the world of Pokemon.
Well, I look at it now that they've introduced, and I don't know how I'm pronouncing it, which actually we should say that right now. Who knows if we're going to pronounce any of these correctly outside of like the original ones? But is it Arceus or Arceus?
I think it's Arceus.
I always thought it was Arceus until I heard it on the anime and they said Arceus.
Yeah, I heard
So I'm gonna
Arceus
go with
in
what
the
they said
movie.
on the cartoon on that one. I'm gonna go with Arceus.
We just
But
call it Arc Horse.
yeah, but I always thought it was Arceus. But
Well,
I think
that-
it is Arceus.
That they introduced as like the actual god. So that as soon as that happened, I was just like, okay, well maybe what we got here is like the evolution versus creation thing. Maybe that Arceus thing is supposed to be God, and maybe Mew is sort of like the answer to evolution. Like, because it kind of looks like a little bit like an embryo. So maybe that's
And
sort
it
of
knows every single, it can learn every single move in the game,
Right.
including Soft Boiled, which was essentially a move just made for Chansey.
right. So like maybe that's the type of thing where this god Pokemon created like the land masses and all that stuff, but Mew was the first Pokemon created.
That's exactly what I was
afterward.
going to say.
Yeah.
If we're making an analogy, I'd say Arceus. If Arceus is God, then Mew would be like Adam, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, basically. So when you run into all those Zubats in all the caves and you curse the gods, you want to curse both of them because they're both at fault. Which that used to piss the shit out of me off.
It's called Repel. Buy it.
Yeah, buy it. It's cheap.
Max Repel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you run out of it after a while though.
Not if you buy 99 of them.
Well, you gotta wait until you've got Missing No to be able to get the
Yeah.
bonus money. But you gotta go through that in the beginning of the story. And once you catch, I remember being so excited to catch Zubat too. You know, the first time I'm playing the game, I fucked up that game so much. I taught my Charmander cut, which just ruined it. And I remember using a Master Ball on Abra because it was just like, this is ridiculous, and he's too hard, and he's probably amazing.
Oh,
It's not as bad as when you teach one of your fucking really good Pokemon Flash.
I did that.
If adult me met child me playing that game and I'd looked at his one Pokemon, I'd be like, great team. But this one's retarded.
Yeah,
I'm like,
because we didn't have an
Yeah,
idea of
that's
what
why
an
I
HM
didn't
slave
bring
was.
my Charizard. I didn't bring my original Charizard with me because of the HMs I taught him.
yeah. So who did you guys use as your HM slaves when that was the thing? I think
for the
Bidoof or
Bidoof, but
in
now
the second generation.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bidoof is
second,
awesome for that.
Bidoof was like 4th generation. As far as second
Well, who am I
generation,
thinking of? Zigzagoon.
Zigzagoon was 3rd generation. You're thinking of Sentret.
Sentret and Furret.
Maybe.
Yep.
So first gen,
After-
I remember I taught Charmander cut, and I remember I taught. Oh wait, no, actually,
I
it
had
was either.
Voltorb, Flash, and I don't remember who I used for cut.
I think I gave my Clefairy Flash. That or Jigglypuff.
It wouldn't have been those because back then you couldn't give it to anyone that wasn't an electric Pokemon.
Yeah, I
Really?
think I did my cut for my starter, Bulbasaur. Because I didn't know
It's
that you
the
couldn't
first
delete
one you
it.
get, and you have
Yeah.
to.
I fucking hated it. I wish there was just like, yo, only give this to it if you're okay with it knowing it forever.
Why is that still a thing?
It's not.
It's
you
not.
You can get rid of them.
Well,
Well,
what
you
the
can
move
get rid of
deleter?
them, but
Yeah, the
you
move
have to
deleter.
use a move deleter now. You can't just delete
Right.
them any time. And the reason for it is in case you're ever put in a scenario. Okay, let's say you're out in a forest, and none of the Pokemon, basically wants you to not get trapped in the game.
Exactly. You don't want to get stuck and glitch the game.
Well, couldn't you just reteach something that move?
Well, here's the thing: you could always release your Pokemon.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about
In
that.
fact, there's a thing, I don't know if it's still in the other games, but in Ruby and Sapphire, if you tried to release your last Pokemon that you had that knew Surf, and you didn't have any other Pokemon that could learn Surf, when you click release, it goes, "Oh, your Whale Lord came back to you."
Huh. I never tried it, really?
I've
Wow.
never put myself in that situation.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever released any Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't think I ever have either.
Oh, I've released a shit ton. I'm like, well, I've breeded you for how many hours? Yeah, you're all wasted.
Well, actually, no, I did.
Oh.
When I went on a big old run of just breeding guys for IVs, for good IVs, I'd have dozens of Chimchars or something, and I would take them and, delete the ones that if I didn't want them, then I would just release them. So I guess
The whole
that.
time, I'm just imagining my avatar on there just lobbing fucking Pokemon fetuses out of the Pokemon Center.
Oh.
It's just putting them out of their misery.
You guys are horrible.
I think that they could get around that by just implementing different kind of moves into the items. Like, have a surfboard. Then you could just use a surfboard. You don't need to teach a Pokemon surf.
Like, oh, you know what helps get through those trees, kid? A knife.
Yeah,
Here's a
or like
knife.
a pair
An
of like garden shears. You can just use them, and then you can still click on it and just use them, just the same as you use the bike. You know?
Well, you know,
Yeah,
if you've
just
got a
use
fire
an item.
if you've got a fire Pokemon in your team, it should be able to get rid of a tree.
Yeah, burn it down
Burn
real
it.
quick.
Yep.
Or just like anything like that. Like, if you've got like an electric Pokemon and you don't have the flashlight item, just let them use flash. And just make it a TM. Like, what the
Well,
hell?
you see some swimmers in the water and you want to electrocute them to death. Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome if you could
I
do
know,
that.
right?
I'd love to see that.
You just electrocute the water and all of the trainers go down and you just collect all their money at the end.
Well, here's the thing. I've
And
never
then
understood
all the
why-
dead Pokemon float up.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I've never understood why you can't just go Zapdos, Thunder, and the water just comes up with a bunch of faded shit and you just start throwing balls.
You're like, oh man, only Tentacool. Fuck this.
Oh.
What do you guys think about how repetitive the Pokemon can be? We've gotten to the point now where we're at, what is this, 722 Pokemon. Now that they just announced whatever the hell this other thing, Magiana or whatever like that, the other day. Out of all this, how many more normal flying birds do we need?
You know what we don't need any more of? Fighting fire starter Pokemon.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
that pissed
so
me
glad
off.
they changed it up with the Psychic type this year. But
Or early to catch bugs that turn into butterflies.
yes, and yeah, I get that they evolve at level 10 and it's a quick way to introduce that into the game. But it's Pokemon. Everyone fucking knows.
Mm-hmm. Just introduce other types that evolve early, you know?
It was nice that they added a new outright type, fairy.
Yeah, they've added Dark and Steel and now Fairy. And
You know what?
that's so good.
I hated why they added Fairy. Because when they asked, it was basically the summary of it was to nuke dragons.
Yeah, the reason. Yeah, but
And here's the reason I have an issue with that is that's why dragons were cool. They were that special type that only came towards the end of the game. Not everybody had them. They weren't easy to find. They weren't easy to level. They were special. Now they're just another fucking type. It was bad enough that they were producing too many dragons. Now they just fucking ruined the type altogether.
Well, Dragon was one that you had to have because Dragon was weak to Dragon.
yeah. That was
So-
the only way you could battle dragons.
Well, Ice also, I believe, was
Yeah, Ice was.
super effective.
Yeah, Ice Beaming fucking Lance's Dragonite is how you won that because it had a ×4 weakness.
Mhm.
Which, if anybody's interested, go to fanboysanonymous.com. I went through a whole bunch of different type advantages and tried to explain them and wrote up some other ideas that I had because to me, some of this shit does not make sense whatsoever. Like, why is Dragon weak to Dragon, but at the same time you've got, like, in my mind, water should be weak to poison because that gets polluted.
I still haven't gone back. We were talking about this a little bit while you were working on the article, but I haven't gone back and read your final article, so I'll have to go back and check that out on fanboysanonymous.com.
I've got to agree about the poison and water thing, though. I mean, just look at Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So timely.
Now, I think some of the changes that I had made, which I'm not going to read them all because obviously people can go ahead and do that. Fairy and Steel, I incorporated in a lot of different ways because I look at Fairy type as sort of the opposite of Dark. It's sort of like the light type that a lot of people were thinking that we were going to have.
Mhm.
So it makes sense, you know, that we have like Fairy can beat, say, I don't know, Dragon. Okay, sure. But shouldn't Steel be able to beat Dragon too? Because if it's all about mythology, a steel sword is the thing that always kills the dragon.
Yeah, but technically
isn't.
dragon fire would melt steel, too. The
Yeah, that's what
scenario-
That's why I thought steel was weak to dragon.
Depends if
because
you
of the
took-
fire.
It depends if it's one of those bitch dragons or like a real dragon from Lord of the Rings.
The bitch dragon
The
type.
bitch dragons.
But there's a lot of different things, like why do we have Bug is weak to certain things, and why is that not super effective against another couple things? And I think I added quite a bit to fighting because it made sense to me. Like, fighting should be able to beat Fairy because it's like, well, the big tough thing beating up the little wimpy thing.
Do you understand why they did Bug for why Psychic's weak against Bug though? Because I've got a theory for that.
Fear against bugs?
No, it's parasites feeding on the brain. Psychic. Yeah,
That makes sense.
that's the only thing. That's the only thing I could come up with for it. So
Now, poison apparently isn't super effective against bug anymore, but it makes sense that it should be because of, like, bug spray.
yeah, that's
Right.
kind of dumb actually.
But so many poisons come from bugs.
Oh, that is true.
That's what I thought.
The whole thing's fucking crazy. You know?
But yeah, the thing is, the whole time I've been playing in this world and just video games in general, they made the game, and it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. That's the game.
Although it's so much better, I think, now in a couple different ways compared to what it used to be. In some ways, I mean, like, I've lost track of how much this shit is nowadays. I haven't played a Pokemon game in a while, but there's too many Pokemon, and then there's the breeding the IVs and EVs, and we're not even talking about the EVs, but that stuff gets confusing to me, and I've lost track of it. But it's so much better to know that there's something like a fairy type to balance it out, because if you look at Gen 1, all you needed was Mewtwo, and you could beat everybody.
So you just needed Psychic on that game, and you won.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
basically.
psychic.
Because they were like, well, we'll do a ghost type. That'll be super effective against it. But the ghost types are also poison and weak to it. It's like, what?
You know what? It actually makes sense though that there's for some of these types to now affect Pokemon differently. Because I don't know if you've seen it, but fans have the theory that the games are set in two different universes: a
Yeah,
universe without Mega Evolution and a universe with Mega Evolution. The universe with Mega Evolution would have all these type changes from the get-go.
Yeah, the difference between that ultimate weapon thing or something.
Mm-hmm. Genesect, is that the one you're talking about, or?
No, it's
No.
some kind of like portal that'll destroy the Earth. or
Oh,
something.
okay. No, I got you. Yeah.
And then Hoopa is supposed to be like the thing that bridges the gap, right? It's like can go into different pocket dimensions. It's like some kind of genie, I think. I don't know too much about that. Leave it in the comments below. Tell us what the hell is supposed to be.
What's its name?
Hoopa, I think.
Hulu?
Not Hulu.
I don't remember. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, all right, I'm looking it up right now. Hoopa, Hoopa. It's a psychic and ghost, or a psychic and dark, because now the Mega Evolutions and stuff. By the way, what do you guys think about Mega Evolutions?
Oh, I don't know a lot of the new ones.
Just in theory, I'm not too into it, because I'd rather some things actually evolve. Like, it bugs the shit out of me if I see something that is just, like, it evolves once, and I'm like, no, you gotta do 3 of them. Like,
Here's the thing, I love Mega Evolutions when it betters a Pokemon that never had an evolution or had a inferior evolution. Don't Mega Evolve Tyranitar. It's a fucking Tyranitar. What do you need to do differently to it?
Tyranitar's
Salamence.
awesome.
Why are you going to evolve Salamence again? It's already a beast. Stop.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Mega Evolution
Yeah,
thing.
and it only lasts while you're in battle. I think it was just something added to bring a little, attention to the new game.
I think it overcomplicates it. They just needed a new gimmick.
Yeah, they
basically.
needed a new gimmick.
Rectified one issue I had. Charizard and Gyarados finally got to be dragons like they deserve.
Yes.
I thought Gyarados was dark with the Mega Evolution.
Oh, really? I thought it was
He looks
dragon.
really cool. I don't remember if a type change happens, but he looks really cool.
Because water flying is so dumb.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. Water Dark. God damn it.
Yeah, that's just wrong. That's the kind of stuff that, like, I don't know. If a Pokemon doesn't have its 3rd evolution, I don't think a Mega Evolution makes sense unless it's a legendary. Like Mega Mewtwo, okay, sure. Mega Charizard, cool. But something like a Tauros, it's like, well, that has it should have a baby Tauros version and then a whatever the next step after Tauros. So I don't want to see a Mega Tauros in the future. Like, no, you still have 2 more spots left. Don't you fucking jip out on them, Don't do
Yeah.
Mega Lapras if you can't do a baby Lapras and a Lapras something else or whatever. Do Mega, I don't know.
No, it was just something for the battles.
Yeah. Like, do Mega Dragonite. That'll make sense to me.
Oh, I bet he'd look cute.
You know who's a badass? Mega Absol.
What is that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love how he
The white dog looking
Yeah,
thing.
dog with
It's
the...
a goat, and it's
It's a goat. Yeah, there you go.
It's a goat?
Mhm.
Doesn't look like a
the
goat.
No.
goat?
Oh, God, no.
I like that little guy.
sheep goat.
Let's see what we just talked a little bit about different types and stuff like that. What do you guys think about the evolutions? Now I know that Wago's got a favorite with Vaporeon.
Vaporeon's my favorite Pokemon. Vaporeon is God.
He's also an asshole.
He is very much an asshole.
Jolteon's my favorite out of the bunch. Caitlin and Angie, you have a favorite?
Yes, I have to agree with you, Tony. Jolteon is my favorite. He was one of my big battlers because I bred teams to be very competitive in battling as far as IV training and EV training. And Jolteon was my go-to electric guy. He was often my opener. I had him because he was super fast, super strong. He had great moves. And so Jolteon, in my opinion, is the best.
I got so annoyed when I ended up getting Flareon because he sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking to myself, I picked Flareon after I got Pokemon Blue because I was like, oh, I'll pick Squirtle and then I'll get Flareon. That'll be my balance out. And I was just like, oh, he'll be like so cool because, the fire Eevee type, the shit. And just didn't pan out. And I was disappointed with, what's the name of the psychic one?
Espeon's actually
Espeon.
really good.
Espeon.
Espeon and Umbreon, I think, could have been cooler.
Umbreon was really useful during Generation 3, but after that, he's kind of become useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jolteon was usually in my party, and he was usually my lead Pokemon.
Even now, Jolteon, I think, is the most valuable.
Because he's just so fast and so powerful that you could basically just go into a battle, hit him once, be done, and go on. So,
You see, the reason Vaporeon's got a special place in my heart is it was the first Pokemon I ever got to a level 100. And that thing was so, evil in the original games. You just give it fucking Aurora Beam or Ice Beam, and it just tore through everything.
Surf and Ice Beam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Just, it was unstoppable. And then it kind of got forgotten about in a few generations afterwards as far as, competitive battling went. Then they gave it Hydration. And since then, Vaporeon has been awesome in a rain dance team. It literally, as long as it's raining, it heals itself of any status ailments. Mm-hmm. So you just use rest, get 100% health, and then it'll awake again.
Now, Vaporeon, probably I would consider the best out of the ones that I've used. Glaceon, I think is the name of the ice one.
Yep.
That one
That's
looks
my
cool.
favorite one just because of looks, and I'm a girl, and I think he's cute.
Cool.
And yeah.
He does look cool.
Glaceon's my favorite.
Leafeon's kind of weird.
Yeah. I'm surprised we haven't gotten the rest of them, though.
Okay, was anyone pissed off when Leafeon evolved via the Moss Rock when you've got something called
A
the
leaf stone?
Leaf Stone?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I forgot about that. I did not need to remember that one.
Yeah, and why hasn't the Moonstone evolved any of them?
Umbreon. Would have been perfect.
Yep.
Or
Moonstone was for Clefairy, right?
Yeah, the Clefairy
Clefable, Nidorino, and Nidorino.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
and Jigglypuff, right?
Oh, yep.
It's like, why not do that? And why not use the Sunstone for another one? And where's our fighting evolution? And where's
Shit,
our...
you could have used the Sunstone on fucking Leafeon as well. That was 2 options.
Yeah,
Doesn't Umbreon legitimately have a moon on it somewhere?
Mhm.
I think so.
Fucking why?
Mhm.
Just change it.
Yeah, because it's not like you can't change things in the future and retcon things. I mean, we've got the fairy type. Certain Pokemon aren't the type that they used to be at all. And we've got moves that have changed. And we've got TMs went from being one use only to being you can use it as many times as you want and stuff. They've changed things over the years. Why not change that? Now you've gotten to a point where you can retcon things, and people buy into retconning a lot more than they used to back in the day. It's like a popular thing in pop culture. You can replace a character in a movie, and people will be like, oh, kind of like how Bond does it. Or if you want to do a different version of Batman, you're like, all right, well, now this is a new version of Batman, instead of 30 years ago where people would be like, what? 2 Batmans? My fucking head's exploding.
Mhm.
I think it'd be valuable if they did that because they are constantly getting a new generation of kids to
Yeah.
play it. That's why it hasn't died. They are tweaking and, adding new things to the game as they come out. But yeah, they could easily, change what you have to do for a character.
It would have made more sense just to give Espeon the Sunstone because it evolves in daytime, Umbreon the Moonstone because it evolves at night, gave the Leaf Stone to Leafeon, then you could have made a new stone called the Ice Stone for Glaceon, and
Yeah.
problem fucking solved. And then make a Fairy Stone. Just keep it consistent. So much unnecessary bullshit.
Or you could do, like, if you don't want to just use a stone for everything, maybe if you want the fighting type one, you give it some kind of an item and it levels up to a certain thing at that point. Like, make that like I don't know what it would be like the Macho Brace thing.
Yeah, the Macho
whatever.
Brace. I was trying to think of.
Fighting.
There were a few fighting.
Whack.
Yeah, like, it's like you gotta put the weight down on it and it trudges through and it becomes real tough and then you can get their fighty on or whatever the fuck you would call it. I don't know what you would call it.
Punchy on.
Yeah, punchy on.
Speaking of bringing in some kids, new generations and stuff, Drew, what's going on, man?
Just getting home from work. Just got this large pizza next to me. Gonna chow down.
What kind of pizza?
Sausage, mushroom, and onions.
You should have had some of those jelly donuts from the anime.
Oh yeah, jelly donuts. You know what's really shitty? They looked so good in the TV show just because Brock loves them, Ash loves them, everyone loves them. So I was always like, man, whenever I go to like a donut shop, I just always assume that they'd have this, that this was an actual thing. Obviously, I don't even know what those are in Japan, but they're not jelly donuts, obviously. But man,
Rice balls.
Rice balls. That's boring. They should be jelly donuts. They look amazing. I don't know what the black shit on them is, but it looks amazing.
So we talked a little bit about some different things here and there. I'm going to give Drew a chance to catch up to us. Drew, your starter Pokemon, did you have like a go-to pick between Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur?
The one that I had, the first Pokemon game I ever had was Yellow, so I always had the Pikachu. And if I ever had my choice between the four, that's the one I always went with because that's what Ash started out with. So I always kind of translated my story in Ash. But if I had my choice between the three, it was always a toss-up between Charmander and Squirtle.
Yes.
So I hate Bulbasaur. I judge.
Oh,
Hey, I judge people. I'm just kidding. And not that deep. I usually make fun of people who choose Bulbasaur. But if I had my choice, the only good thing about Bulbasaur is the angry Bulbasaur thing that we do now. That's the only useful thing that's coming out of that. But I like Charmander and Squirtle. They each had their own perk. Usually, if you go up against Brock, it really depends on how much I really want to try to beat him in the beginning. So if I really want to get that done quick, I just pick Squirtle.
See, the trick with Brock wasn't who you had as much as how many Pokemon you had. Because if you got somebody like Nidoran and he got stuck in Wrap, you're fucked.
Well,
you could just teach Nidoran low kick because it learns it right at the start of the game, or catch a Mankey. It wasn't that hard.
You couldn't get Mankey before...
You could get Mankey before Brock. On Pokemon Red.
You could?
Yep, it's in the patch of grass right by the Indigo Plateau before you hit Viridian Forest.
Fuck, really?
Oh my god!
Like,
So my first story, the first main thing I remember about Pokemon Yellow was that it took me forever to beat Brock in the beginning, just because you have Pikachu and Pidgey and Caterpie, and that's a very terrible like combo to go at him with, because pretty much Pikachu's useless. The first time I beat him, it was on my Game Boy Color. I got so excited. The kid next to me, we were just like trying to beat this for like 5 hours straight, and I finally do it, and we're jumping around. There's no battery like cover on the back of my Game Boy, so it accidentally falls out of my hand. It drops, and the batteries fell out. That was the only time I've cried because of Pokemon other than the first Pokemon movie. I was so upset. That was the worst thing.
I have cried over a Pokemon game because I was. Oh, never mind. No.
I never cried over any of the games when I was a kid, but I did get really frustrated to where I would be like, okay, I'm going to start like shaking with anger. I need to put this down and do something else. Where you're trying to like catch a Mewtwo or something and you've used 100 Ultra Balls and you're like, that fucker has like 5 HP left and he's paralyzed. What do I have to do? So then you just go, you know what? Fuck it. I've already saved before I even tried it. I'm going to shut the game off, walk away, catch my breath, come back a little bit later on.
Have you ever had that, though, where you threw everything at him and all you have left is, like, a Pokeball, and you throw it, and that's what catches him?
Yeah. And you're like,
And you're
I don't
like-
even know if I should be mad or happy.
You're like, I don't even
That
want
has
you
happened to
anymore.
me before.
At that point, you're just kind of like, but it's... it's just like...
You wasted
Oh,
all the
man.
good shit, and the simple thing ends up catching it. That's like the biggest middle finger, I believe. Nothing else could top that.
Well, they got really confusing when they started adding different types of balls in the second generation. And then it was like, well, if you use a dusk ball or a net ball or whatever, and I was just kind of like, I'm not going to use any of these except for a quick ball. Fuck that. All of it's better than the goddamn Safari balls, though. That Safari Zone used to piss me off so much.
It really depends. Sometimes a lot easier.
I went there to get what I had to get, and then I left.
Fuck Safari Zone. We're not going to talk about all that much. But that does bring up somebody that was in the Safari Zone. Kangaskhan. Or Kangaskhan. Is it Kangaskhan or Kangaskhan?
Khan.
Khan.
It's like Genghis Khan.
All right, I thought so. I thought it was Kangaskhan, but I don't know. Maybe Kangaskhan. But there are a lot of rumors and theories and conspiracies and all that to go around with a lot of things with Pokemon. We're going to touch on some of them right now, and I wanted to bring this one up first because this is the first one that I had come across that really started making me think that maybe there was something to like the deleted side of things that should have been added in retrospectively and whatever.
Marowak.
Marowak. Yeah. What do you guys think about this? Is it something that holds like credibility for you guys? Because if you look at the baby Kangaskhan, it's the same exact model as the Cubone.
It does look very similar. I know when people started pointing that one out, I thought there's credibility here. It looks very much like it. It makes sense.
And it's like you don't have any real rationalization that I've come across at the very least for if Marowak dies and that's the Cubone skull or whatever like that, what happens if Marowak doesn't die? Shouldn't it just become Kangaskhan?
No idea.
Like, that's a crazy kind of thing.
Because there's no actual evolution to Kangaskhan, I've always just considered this theory void. Even for a deleted thing, I think it was just more coincidental than it was anything else. I always liked this theory because if you look at the models, it is kind of cool and kind of similar, but I think it was more coincidental.
Well, one of the things that got people really interested in this was how there's a connection between Kangaskhan and Missing No. And Missing No is all over the fucking place. First question I have for you guys, though. Should Missing No ever become a real Pokemon?
They had a chance, I think, to do that, and they didn't take it. The Pokemon that controls their version of Hell, what is it? It begins with the G. It's was in the same set as Palkia and
Giratina,
Dialga.
I think?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, yeah.
The Distortion World is essentially the Pokemon version of Hell. So if he was going to do it, I say you should have done it with Missigno, because who better to rule something called the Distortion World?
See, I would kind of go more for if the whole idea with Pokemon is that you can put them in a PC and you can like transfer their energy into the Pokeball and all that. Missing though could be sort of the glitch Pokemon where it's like whatever like they do like I think it's like Sableye or whatever like that. There's different Pokemon where it's like here this one's a doll that became a Pokemon and this one is a dead human that somehow turned into a Pokemon with a mask or whatever. Why not make that the Pokemon that got fucked up in the transfer file?
That's what I always thought it was or should be considered.
Like the
Like
anti-Porygon.
Porygon or yeah, okay.
Yeah, that he is actually some kind of computer glitch or when Pokemon get lost in the PC.
Mhm. Make it like Ghost and Electric type or something. Or even just
I
Ghost
don't want
type.
another Rotom. Rotom sucks.
Yeah.
Does suck, but it's cute.
Ghost Normal. That'd be something weird. But then they had the Pokerus, which kind of made you think there was even something more attached to this. You're giving yourself a little virus that you can pass between things here and there, and I don't know. I mean
That was interesting, and it was helpful if you used it right.
Oh, very helpful.
I always thought that was some sort of reference to Missing No. Might not be, but the idea that you could glitch the hell out of your Pokemon in the first gen, and then in the second one, it's like, oh, there we came across this kind of weird virus and whatever. It's like, oh, is it a computer virus?
Mhm.
See what you're doing, Game Freak. I always loved Missing No, though. That code was fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's finding Missing No. I never tried to catch him though because I always heard it glitched your game, and I figured
found
it
him but
wasn't.
never caught him.
It wasn't worth trying it because I put in
You
so
should.
many hours.
Apparently, it fucked your Hall of Fame data up.
Yeah, I never did that.
I caught that fucker immediately. I thought I was coming
But I-
across the rarest legendary possible, and that it was going to be some kind of weird way to open up the other worlds and stuff, because you could see different areas that you couldn't reach. And I was like, well, maybe this Missing No thing is like you can glitch through it or something. Like, I don't know. And then you catch it in its bird type, and you're like, what? Wait, I thought we had a flying type. Why is it bird? And apparently, the reason why Missing No exists now is essentially tied to the Pokemon that were in Generation 2 that were originally scheduled to be in the first one. Ho-Oh is probably the biggest reason for it. Because actually, if you go through the list of what they programmed into the game, the Tyranitar line and Ho-Oh and a couple other ones, there's a good 10 of them or so, were originally scheduled to be in the first game.
Well, do you remember what one of the first episodes?
Yeah, I think the
when
very
Ash
first
leaves,
episode.
what he sees?
He sees Ho-Oh in the sky, right?
Yeah,
A very
And-
poorly designed and animated Ho-Ho with no actual features.
Yeah.
And
But
one
left-
color.
but left a rainbow.
Mhm.
Yep.
And at that time, it was just like, what the fuck is this? Oh my god.
That always made me so mad that didn't appear until so much
Yeah,
later.
he had to wait so long.
What annoys me is that Ash and Ho-Oh haven't actually really had much else to do with each other. I know he's seen it a couple more times, but you'd think at some point.
Well, one thing that also bugged me was Angie had a poster on her wall of all of the 151 or 150. Mew was not on there, I believe.
I have no idea.
And so we're watching the cartoon, and I was talking about Togepi, and I was like, wait, where the hell is Togepi? Because he was in the cartoon way before he ever appeared in a game. So I was like, he has to be in the 150. He's a Pokemon, so I'm looking for it. Nope. And then eventually he was introduced in the second generation.
Yeah, because Togepi was one of the ones that was a really early on design, but I think probably the biggest one that got a lot of attention from people was Marill, which everybody thought it was Pika-Blue.
Mhm.
And the amount of shit that you would come across where it was like, this is how you catch Pika-Blue was fucking insane. It was like, you go to this one section of Cinnabar, and you're using this one set of Pokemon that have these moves that you've beaten the Elite Four 100 times, and then you can use this hop move to hop over the barricade to get to the water on the other side, and then there was the Bill's Garden thing with the Pokegods, that you can go to the section behind Bill's house, and you can catch Mew, and you can catch Pika-Blue and Pika-Flare and all this other kind of shit like that.
I didn't believe a goddamn one of those.
I believed
But
every one
I
of them.
always-
I was a
I
fan of
always
it.
thought Marill was just a water version of what Pikachu is.
And see, I knew he wasn't going to be Pika-Blue because, and same thing with the unknowns, like certain things, because certain shops in my town would have the Japanese playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so, before we ever got the American translation of the video games, we would get the Japanese versions of the playing cards. And since I know a little bit of katakana, I could read some of the, hiragana, katakana, I could read some of the type on there. So, people would have, before the second generation came out, they'd have this Pika-Blue card, and I'd look at it and I was like, oh no, it says Mariru. His name is Mariru, which eventually became Marill. So I was like, it's not Pika-Blue, guys. Come on, he's not related to Pikachu. And same thing with the unknowns. The cards for that, it's translated, it says no un, and people would read it in the Romaicized. It was Anoon. I was like, it's not Anoon, it's unknown, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
So some of the hints, or not hints, but the conspiracy about the new ones coming up, one of the reasons I didn't buy into them is because I was seeing some of these Japanese cards.
And I never got
Yeah.
any of that. So to me, it was just like, Pika-Blue's real. I fucking saw him.
And we were older than you.
That's true.
Yeah, see, I was, when I first started playing, I was in college when it first came out.
And I was susceptible to all the playground rumors and stuff where it was like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
no, see, I caught Pika-Blue, but it's on my other game and I can't bring it into school because my cousin's got it. He borrowed it. Yeah,
And my uncle works for Nintendo.
exactly.
Oh God.
Yeah, my uncles actually build Nintendo. So.
I had just gotten out of high school.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So that was one thing because I didn't really know anybody else my age who was playing it.
Just my cousin Noel.
Yeah.
He's the one
well,
who
he was
introduced us.
he was I don't know 15 or something.
He's
so he was a little bit younger. He was in high school.
No, he's 4 years younger than me.
Yeah,
So he
so he
probably was
in high
either
school.
in
So
8th or
anyways,
9th grade.
we would go, and one of the things is in order to play and trade, we would go to the stores. And so I would go and play against people. And Angie was there with me, so I wasn't as much of a creep.
Bullied kids into playing him. Right, you lost. Now you have to give me your Pokemon.
It's like, how old are you? And it's like, hey, I'm a Pokemon master. You leave me the fuck alone.
Well, no, when we would go to Toys R Us for the card games and stuff and to play, we became friends with the woman who was running it, and we became like the Pokemon leaders.
Yep.
We became gym leaders.
I used to screw them over at that card game so much.
No, I never, ran anything unfairly. But since I was so much older and smarter and I knew how to use strategy, I just build the best decks and I just smoke everybody. There was only one guy there who was good, and he was like 16. So other than him...
And every now and then we'll still run into him.
Yep.
No, I used to, just go up to people and be like, hey, if you get 2 points for winning and 1 point for losing, I'll work a deal with you. How about we just say that we had 3 matches? You won one of them, I won one of them. To do that kind of thing and be like, yeah, we just did 3 of these right now. So I would get badges so quick and shit. And a friend of mine, the one who was the one walking me through Pokemon Red, Og, he was such a jerk when it came to that stuff. He would go to the big meetups where people would trade, and he would take those fake sticker things that you would get in the 25-cent machines.
Oh, yeah.
And he would go up to the most gullible kids and he'd be like, no, this is one of those super shinies. And he'd trade him one of the fucking stickers on top of I don't know, a water energy card or something like that for a fucking Moltres or whatever.
Oh, that's horrible.
And he would just be like, don't say anything. And I'm like, I'm not going to fucking say anything. You owe me a couple things in return. You know?
No, legitimately playing, we got everything we did and officially got the first and second generation of badges.
Yep. And as far as talking about cards, I don't know, we kind of went off on a tangent of cards here, but I collected the first couple of sets.
We got the first
legitimately,
3 sets.
Base, Jungle, Fossil, Team Rocket. And to me, because I didn't have to scam people out because I was an adult. I had a job. I was going to school at the same time, but I had money. So instead of going and buying packs, I would go to the store and I'd buy an entire sealed box.
Yep.
So
that's what we did.
Because
we had a lot of fun.
I dropped $70 to $100. I mean, I just as soon as the new set came out, I'd go and buy a whole complete box, and then just have to get a couple little pieces to complete it.
Yeah.
So I had to go through all the effort of trading people, and I had to. There was a shop around me that used to do a deal where if you had a spare holographic one, and you kind of were just like, I don't really want this anymore, you could either sell it to the guy because he would get some money back, or you could trade that in for a couple packs.
See, the weird thing was when I didn't start collecting the cards or anything until I was 5 or 6, 7. So it was 2001, 2002-ish. And by that point, we're on to past the first generation, which is really the only important one for the most part. Really, no one was doing Pokemon at that point. It was really Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I felt weird bringing Pokemon cards to school. Hey, look what I got. And everyone's like, hey, look. This is Exodia. Fuck you, Drew. And I was like, whoa. Fuck me, fuck you.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh got pretty popular.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh got popular a couple years later.
See, that was weird to me. And then I started getting the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and by the time I got the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I didn't know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I just had the fucking cards. I was like, oh yeah, see? I got
that zombie warrior card.
Exactly. See, with Yu-Gi-Oh, I thought it was exactly what it was like on TV, where it was nothing like the actual card game. They're just like, ho, there's no, it's because you have to have a 4-star card on the playing field before you get a 6-star card out. And the TV show, it says, fuck that. I'm going to play my Blue Eyes White Dragon for no fucking reason. And then at one point, I'm pretty sure Yu-Gi-Oh was like, that's against the rules. And Kaiba's just like, yeah, fuck the rules.
It's a complex game.
Oh no, I mean I played it since then. It's not too bad, but it was just weird. I never got into the cards as much. I've collected them. I've never actually attempted to learn how to play Pokemon, the actual card game, just because everyone who did play Pokemon, they just played the video game version of it. And by the time I was in
That was
5th
fun.
and 6th grade, I didn't ride a bus when I was in elementary school because I could ride my bike to school and it was close enough that they didn't take a bus through my neighborhood because it was really close. It wasn't until I was in middle school when I rode a bus, and by that point, the DSs were popular, so everyone like did the Wi-Fi link up to play either Pokemon or Mario Kart on the bus, and I felt left out at that point.
You missed
I
out
felt
on
really
having
shitty.
to bring that purple link cable into the classroom. And
Yeah.
hook it up to your
Aw.
giant brick Game Boy and everything.
So I have a quick story to tell about cards, before we get off the topic of cards. When I was collecting them, sometimes I would buy a sealed box, but sometimes I didn't. And
That was a quick story.
no. Sometimes I would buy individual packs, but what I did when I bought individual packs was I was a smart consumer. And when I was able to get away with this, I had a little handheld scale, which I used for other things. A little handheld scale, and I would take that to the store, and it was pretty accurate, just a little handheld scale, and I would take the packs, and I'd clip them to it, and I'd weigh the different packs of Pokemon cards, because the ones with the foil, the holograms, weighed just a little bit more. So I would separate them out into piles, heavy and light, and then I'd buy all the heavy ones. And I'd leave all the light ones in the store for the little kids to buy.
For all the kids to buy, get
God
disappointed.
damn. Like, you just keep talking and talking and talking, and I'm like, so this is how all these things in your childhood are ruined.
Basically.
Wego, were you
God,
into the cards?
Like, adults ruin everything, don't they?
Were you into the
Oh,
cards,
you would have
Wego?
done the same thing if you would have thought of it.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that? Tony?
Were you into the cards?
I wasn't into playing the card game, but I was into collecting them. I don't give a fuck anyway. All you have to do is like have a Charizard card. Therefore, I was like, oh, he's got Charizard.
I traded so much extra bullshit to a friend of mine to get those cards. It was like, like an old handheld basketball game thing and whatever, like stupid shit. I think I had a book of insults, like fake little kid insults, like your mama jokes and whatever. And I was like, I'll trade you this too. And it was like the stupidest shit. He was just kind of like, I'm getting all this crap for this one card. And I'm like, yeah, this card's worth like $200.
I remember I traded someone a convenience card to one of my family's gas stations to get some like secret rare Charizard card. I don't have it anymore. I gave it to my cousin. It's kind of like the uncle who works at Nintendo's. That's how I have the Pokeblue thing. But at the same time, it was that was like my one good thing I've ever done. So I bet that my cousin, since he has a mental disability, he might have like lost it as soon as he got it, knowing him because he's kind of dumb. But trying to put it nicely, he's not the brightest tool in the toolbox, but he's a nice kid.
Oh, fucking hell.
The brightest
Nice
tool
mixed
in the
metaphor there.
Hey, could you put a note to make that an audio clip?
Well, let's go back to some of the other conspiracy theories and stuff. The other huge one is Mew. Now, we had lots of different ways that we could actually catch Mew in the game that were all glitching it out or using Game Shark or whatever like that. But the one that everybody always passed around was that truck in the SSN.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, man. I remember spending so much time trying to figure out how to get to that truck. And apparently in
And it's
the
so
remake...
demoralizing when you get to it, though, and you try to click on it and nothing happens.
Right.
Because the amount of bullshit you have to do to get surf before you go on the SSN.
Yep. And strength, because it was like, well, if you use strength for it.
Mm-hmm. So, like, you essentially had to skip Lieutenant Surge and several other things, surf and get a certain Pokemon traded. It was awkward as fuck.
And it was for nothing. Now, in future versions, I think it was the Fire and Red, not Fire and Red, Fire Red and Leaf Green, they put the lava cookie underneath there just as like a fuck you to all those people. But that Mew trick with that truck, because you can't do a game where like every little inch is something weird. You talk to every character and you can go back and things can change or whatever, and have a truck that you can't reach. Because at that point you're just like, well, why would they put the truck there? What's the truck do? The truck's got to do something. Like, drove me nuts. And I remember being so pissed.
Oh, did you ever hear about the rumor that you could get keys to the truck if you traded a level 100 Nido King with one of the rockets in Celadon City?
No.
No.
That sounds
God,
familiar.
I'm glad I was in high school.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds so familiar. I probably tried it. That's what's so sad about
Oh
it.
man, I am so glad I wasn't in grade school.
Well, hopefully you guys
or
were
junior
saving
high.
your game before you did this stupid shit.
No.
And so that way you know.
No, because why would I save my game? I'm going to catch Mew. It's going to be fucking awesome, you know? And then I'm going to use Mew to get
away,
Pink
then
Blue.
I'll save it. Another, I don't know if this is on your list of conspiracies or glitch topics or whatever you want to call it. The Caterpie, Butterfree, Venonat, Venomoth.
Oh, yeah, that definitely is. Because that's got to be true.
I buy into that one. Venomoth has the same mouth and the same eyes as Butterfree, like just a little different. And Venomoth just makes all the more sense.
It has to be true.
How did they screw that one up?
I think they screwed it up just the same as they screwed up some of the naming of some of the other things. Like, why is the gold duck Psyduck instead of gold duck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
those two should be
I never
switched
thought
around.
of that.
Never thought about that.
Yeah.
So, like, that gets screwed up, and that's like, oh, come on. You just translated something wrong. Admit it. And if you need to change it in the future, go ahead and change it and stuff. But that's definitely got to be one. There was one I came across the other day, though, when I was doing research for some of this, that I never came across beforehand. And that's Voltorb is a possessed Pokeball from Haunter, because they have the same eyes. Which was
That one I don't buy into at all.
No.
I think it's I think it's a cute like little rumor to start, but it's not like anything. real.
yeah, that's one I don't believe in, even though they do have the same eyes. But on a similar token, Gengar being Clefairy's shadow, that I do.
Yes, because neither of them can hurt each other with their base move type.
Yep.
Ghost can't hurt normal, normal can't hurt Ghost. They have a similar body shape.
They have a very similar body shape.
Mhm.
Makes perfect sense to me. Then there's the Ditto as a failed experiment of Mew.
This one I think has more weight to it than any other theory out there. So for starters, Ditto originally only appeared in places where Mewtwo was, or had been, which was the mansion that had burnt down because that's where Mewtwo was created, and in the unknown dungeon where Mewtwo went. Ditto can evolve into any Pokemon. Mew can learn any Pokemon's move. They both have even base stats. They both have the same shiny color. It all adds up.
Yeah, the same weight too, I think, right?
If it probably is, you know.
It just makes sense. I mean,
Hmm.
I always thought that as soon as I heard it. We can't know it's true because no one will say anything.
Plus, Mewtwo is like the best, and Ditto is the shit. So, of course, Ditto's got to be like a cousin, because Ditto's awesome. Fucking love Ditto.
Ditto I basically just used for breeding. I just made him my sex slave.
I
Well,
have
for the other Pokemon.
That's why it's always
I have-
Yeah,
smiling.
you always called him your sex slave. Yes,
I
you
have a
did.
Ditto hat. It's epic.
Cool.
It's like
I
how you
always-
said that. I have a Ditto hat.
Yeah.
Guys. What do you guys think
My
about the
Ditto
idea
hat.
that Blue's Raticate, or Gary's Raticate, or whatever it is, dies?
No, I think that's just a coincidence of storytelling.
Yeah, it was just storytelling.
There's a lot of weird stuff in Lavender Town, though. That annoying ass music. The fact that you can apparently see ghosts.
You see, people base that theory on the fact that Gary was Blue was in the Lavender Town tower.
Mhm.
They say, oh, he's visiting his Raticate that isn't on his team anymore. Well, I always took that as he's always one step ahead of you through the entire game. He's just there before you.
Yep.
Mhm.
Because Ash is a loser.
Yeah.
Gary Oak's the fucking shit. Gary Oak and Ditto. They should be a team.
Yes. Gary knew how good he was.
There's another big theory about the war, which the more that I get into it, the more I believe. You got Lieutenant Surge, obviously a war in some capacity.
There's no way there wasn't war. I mean, there's a lieutenant.
Right. But that's like, maybe that's the reason why certain things are the way that they are in the games, you know? Like the construction site, maybe that got torn down from some kind of war. The split between Kanto and Johto, maybe that's why Indigo Plateau is in the center of the two. Maybe it's kind of like North and South Korea or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that's really interesting. And now when we start getting into the Pokemon stuff where there's different, like, dimensions and different continuities and whatever, I think the war theory makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that, like, this kind of stuff would happen when, like, well, like when I was a kid, when you guys were in high school, college, that kind of stuff like that, that it was like the only thing you could be talking about was just how would you catch Peekaboo or whatever. And now it's just kind of like, well, what if there was war in the wartime? Yeah.
It's
Just
the
always
weirdest
something.
one, though, because I get it that there really isn't any dads in the world.
Yeah.
It's all moms.
Like, where the fuck is your dad?
Like, the only time they really did that was Generation 3, where your dad was a fucking weirdo that had a bunch of slackings.
Yeah, that did happen.
Do you guys ever
I
So-
remember
think
in games people had more families and stuff running into guys, but I always thought it was because, oh, your dads were Pokemon trainers too and they disappeared.
Alright, I'm just saying,
They're out
The-
in the
these
world
region-
with their own team.
their regions are pretty fucking small. You should have ran into your dad at some point.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember playing the game the first time around. I was just like, okay, when we eventually come across the dad, he's going to like help save you from Team Rocket, or he's going to
And
be the
also,
final gym
Fly-
leader, or something. You know?
There ain't no reason he can't be home. Fly.
Yeah, fly, surf. That fucker's got flash, I'm sure. Maybe he doesn't have cut, and there's just like a tree blocking his way. And he's just like, no, I fucking flew over here, and I didn't have the HM for cut. Now my game's all messed up. But it is weird, though, that it's always that your mom is just kind of by herself, abandoned. Poor mom. I don't think that there's really any other conspiracies or whatever that I've come across that really hold any weight, because there's a lot of stupid ones, but do you guys have any others?
It doesn't hold weight, but Lavender Town is easily the biggest.
For, like, what
So-
different things?
Well, you know about the whole story about some kid killing himself overhearing the sound, right?
Yeah, and in Japan or something like that, so they had to change
Like,
the
I have
US
not heard
version.
that.
There was some
I'm just going
bullshit.
to sit here and listen.
So there's some bullshit story and it's called Lavender Town Syndrome, and it was that children were hearing that fucking annoying song, and apparently in Japan on the original games it had a different pitch, and they had to change the pitch because of the effect it was having on people during the testing. I've always thought it was bullshit, as I've never found an ounce of truth about it. But people being what they are, going, you know what? I always did feel really weird when that theme came on.
Yeah, because this is a weird fucking thing.
Yeah, you were
Mhm.
meant to. It was meant to unsettle you.
Yeah.
There's certain sounds that do that. It's fucking. Ugh.
It's not
Yeah,
like
I
it's
think it would-
hypnotizing and it actually, you're listening to the Lavender Town theme and just stabbing your family or something. Like, it's
I don't
creepy.
think it was like that. I don't think it was like the Porygon episode of the cartoon
Yeah.
that actually caused people to have physical reactions.
Maybe when you got into Lavender Town, it was playing that ding, 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 and just flashing on your screen, and you were just like, oh my god, my life is like falling apart.
They were saying played through the original Game Boy Color speakers at the frequency that it was at. And I've played some of the original ROMs of the Japanese versions. Fucking song is exactly the same.
It's got to be on YouTube, right?
Anybody ever play that Pokemon Black, I think it was, before it came out? That different version that was created where it's like you're in hell, basically. I think it was Pokemon Black.
Pokemon Black and White were a different generation.
Yeah,
but
I have no
I don't
idea
know
what
which
you're
one you're
talking
talking
about.
about.
No, he's probably on about that ROM that was made. There's
Yeah.
a few ROMs that were made which were like meant to be all fucked up and dark.
Like a homebrew kind of a game or what?
You know ROM hacking, right?
Right.
Yeah, essentially it was that, but people thought they were legitimate games because ROM hacking wasn't as popular back then.
I gotcha.
It was called Pokemon Black, because this was before Pokemon Black and White.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was like
Never heard of it.
you wake up and you're like a ghost or something, and like the game kind of like shuts off, and it's one of those kind of like creepypasta sort of things.
Hmm.
But that's
No.
people are taking those into the craziest way. There's so many fake Pokemon out there now because you can pass things around on like DeviantArt or whatever like that. So you can't buy into like anything anymore. But It is kind of fun to think that there's been so many different conspiracies, like the Genesect and Kabutops, that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I came across one the other day that was kind of bringing up an alternative to that, which was that Genesect was the evolution of Parasect. And it made a lot of really good points. So people are really getting heavy into that kind of shit now, and it's just kind of crazy. Drew, from your perspective, since you're a little bit younger than the rest of us here, were you running across a lot of these before when you were a kid, or was that already, like, a lot of them had already been disproven?
A lot of them. The thing is, like I said, a lot of the people that was into Pokemon, they were all my age. Internet was really a weird thing at that point. And I didn't really hear a lot of these things until I got past that stage where I wanted to play Pokemon all the time. I didn't hear a lot of these stuff until I got into middle schoolish, because I just didn't get on the internet that much until I was in middle school. Though the Lavender Town thing I actually heard a lot before then. And honestly I thought that that's this one that was disproven. The one that I did hear, though, and I know we already talked about it, but the truck one that we've already discussed, that's the one that always haunts me to this day, because I only threw my Game Boy once, intentionally, and that was when I was trying to move that truck to get Mew, and that never fucking happened. That thing really pisses me off, because I don't get my meal, I don't get anything else.
My issue is, why even make a sprite? Why even make the sprite of a truck if you're not gonna? Because it's not there for anyone to see unless they go through a lot of work, and there's not a goddamn upside to doing it.
Yeah, just replace it with extra other bullshit from the ground around it.
Maybe, just maybe, they put that there, and then they were gonna add something there, and they just forgot about it.
Maybe. I mean, there are situations like old games like GoldenEye. They had a fourth tower on the dam level, and they were going to have that be an objective, and eventually they were just like, oh, this is the first fucking level, we've got enough. So it could have been something like that. It could have been like you can go back to the SSN and you can surf over there and you get, like, I don't know, maybe a rare candy or something.
Or maybe the people who made it didn't know how popular it was going to be, and they were just putting bullshit in because they wanted to.
It could be.
Yeah.
They're like, nobody's going to care about this fucking Kangaskhan thing.
Or let's just make this joke. Let's,
And
Yeah,
with
maybe it was some kind of inside joke. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It could just be a Easter egg for them. But a lot of the stuff that has been disproven over the years, there's not really much I believe in unless there's a video of it. I haven't played Pokemon in the original series in a couple years, and not since I just went back on my laptop, downloaded a ROM, and I just ran through it all just because it takes forever. I just leveled up all my Pokemon really quickly just by hitting like space. And like it speeds everything by 300 and just hit enter like 1,000 times. Other than that, I don't really play it that much anymore, and I was never really interested in doing all that stuff because all I ever really wanted to do was play the game.
Yeah.
So a lot of like the creepypastas, the rumors that got passed around. I remember on my bus when I was a freshman, like way after, like before I got into playing it again, and it was like kind of cool not to play it at that point a little bit. There was always the group of kids who will just play it all on the bus. I overheard them talking about it, and I asked about, I forget which one it was, but they were just talking about it, and they explained it to me, and I was just, that's fucking stupid. So it's a weird situation. I honestly don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, let's transition a little bit to the anime and the movies, because we haven't really talked about them all that much. A lot of us got into it because of the anime. I know I was watching the anime around the time that I started, and Kaylin, you said that you were as well.
Mm-hmm.
That anime is frustrating as fuck to watch now, because I was watching that more recent episode, and something as simple as the who's that Pokemon? They were like, well, this is Klefki, and Klefki does this, and Klefki does that. Cut to a commercial. Who's that Pokemon? And my niece is, 7, 8. She's just like, it's whatever. And I'm like, it's fucking Klefki. He just, he showed Klefki 8 fucking times. Then it comes back, it's Klefki. And it's like, yeah, no shit. So.
It was usually the Pokemon that the episode was about.
Exactly, yeah. If you're going to do a whole episode about Exeggutor, it's going to be Exeggutor. It's not going to be like, that was Golbat. It's just. Or that thing of it's Pikachu or Jigglypuff seen from above or whatever. But
Oh, jeez.
so much stuff about that anime is so weird. I mean, they've had anime in general. I think is weird. I'm not too much into it, but just the idea behind like you show Ho-Oh at the beginning, and you're immediately like, well, what the hell? And they've got Arcanine, it's a legendary type, and a giant Dragonite, and characters that aren't the same. You're walking around with Misty and Brock, even though they're supposed to be gym leaders. Like, insanity when you think about the anime. I stopped watching it after I think it was the Johto series. Yeah, Johto ones. And it pissed me off that there was the Orange Islands, because that wasn't in the game, and that was like, well, maybe that's where you find all these fucking, like, Peekaboo and all that kind of stuff. They gotta be off of Cinnabar, right? You know, that kind of thing. But what do you guys think about the anime? Any, like, special memories you guys have, or different
Well,
things?
that's what got me into it. You know, I was hanging
My
out.
Butterfree.
And yeah,
Oh.
oh man, that was a heartbreaking one.
Ash is a
That
fucking
one-
dipshit.
Yeah.
Yes, and he always shall be a 10-year-old dipshit.
You know what else you could do, Ash? Keep both the Butterfrees.
Right.
Yeah.
Fucking
You're
dipshit.
giving away your fucking Charizard for it. It's the best thing you have on your team.
Yeah, I don't know why he ever stored that.
He never gave it up. He
It's-
just let it stay there.
Yeah, it's living with Professor Oak, right?
No, it's
No,
at
where
the
is it?
volcano.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
every
right,
now
yep.
and then he'll come
Okay,
back
when
and
your
help him out.
Charizard gets fun out of burning you,
Mhm.
you leave it on a fucking island.
But no, the cartoon is what got me into it. You know, I knew the video game existed. I knew the cards were a thing, but I started watching the cartoon and started watching it, and I loved it, and I got hooked. And then I'm like, oh, well, let me investigate this a little more. So I got the game. Then I started collecting the cards, but it was definitely the cartoon, and that's why I love Bulbasaur, because of that whole episode where, you know, all the Bulbasaurs, the blah 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 blah. I'm not going to do that. But, yeah, he was.
Bulbasaur.
It's his personality in the cartoon that made me love him so much. So yeah, I love the cartoons, and then, you know, went and saw the first movie and stuff.
You're gonna like
Well,
Bulbasaur for his personality in the cartoons, but you're not gonna get down with the Squirtle Squad.
Oh, I love the Squirtle Squad.
So much better.
Squirtle.
He had glasses, man.
Yeah, the glasses were pretty
He
cool.
was a shit. Just the same as
It's like,
Ditto and-
yo, I know I just destroyed all your shit, but I'm gonna hug you now and you're gonna take me.
Mhm.
Sorry for starving you. Be my friend.
Wago, anything stand out to you from the anime or the movies?
Okay, other than Bye Bye Butterfree, not too much. I was like, here's the thing. I know you hate Digimon, but as a TV series, Digimon kicked the shit out of Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
As a video game, though, Digimon's always sucked.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, so when it comes down to it, the anime, I don't have too many fond memories. There have been, like, certain episodes where I've been like, okay, that was pretty badass. But if I had to say one, it was when Gary went up against Giovanni, and he had Mewtwo all in the armor,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and he kicked the shit out of both Gary's Nidoking and his Arcanine with Mewtwo at once.
And you're just kind of like, oh fuck.
I'm like, right. That's Gary. He's
Yep.
10. He has a Corvette.
And
Doesn't happen to
cheerleaders.
That doesn't happen to Gary.
Drew, any special memories from the anime or the movies?
You remember that one time Ash turned into stone? I think that was the only time I might have shed a tear, other than when I dropped my Game Boy and it just turned off.
So
That I
I
actually shed a tear.
have a big issue with that movie.
Is it that he died?
Not
quote
at all.
unquote?
It's the fact that when this originally aired in the cinemas, they cut the first 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The first 15 minutes showed Mewtwo as a child being cloned in his own little psychic world, along with a bunch of other psychic Pokemon and, well, Pokemon that was like communicating to each other via psychic
Telepathy.
powers. There we go, telepathy. Along with a little girl who some scientist was trying to basically revive his daughter. And it was this whole cool thing that basically explained the theory of Pokemon tears bringing back life. Well, that wasn't in the cinematic release, at least for us. So when Ash got brought back to life by these tears, I'm like, that makes no fucking sense. What? Why is he alive now?
No, it's the
And then
tears
I
of the
watched it all-
kids bring it
and then
back
I
to
watched
life.
it all those years later with the full beginning and added to it. I'm like, now you see, that's heartbreaking and makes sense.
But see, as a kid, it makes sense. Like, oh man, the tears that these Pokemon bring him back from being stoned. If it's
Yeah,
a
it makes
feel-good
sense until
moment.
Grandma fucking hits the floor, dies, and your tears do nothing.
Oh.
It's just a feel-good moment. I understand why they would do something like that. And maybe they just didn't think that the kids would understand that. That would be my guess.
Now I'm just imagining these kids after watching the movie where they actually do have like they come across their grandmother on the floor having a stroke or something, and they're just kind of like, "That's okay. I'll cry on her and it'll make it better."
Oh.
Mom?
I was so excited to see that first movie because
Oh, I
after
loved
watching
it.
the cartoons for a while and I just looked it up. It came out in November of '99 here in the States.
They
And
gave you that Mew card, you know?
yeah, exactly. I was going to say, did you guys remember what you got? You got the ancient Mew card, which
I thought,
was
actually,
so
the Ancient
coveted.
Mew card I thought came with the second movie. Am I wrong?
I think it was the
Is
first
that
one.
Pokemon?
Thought it was the
because-
first one.
Because in the second movie, the main villain, his whole shtick is that he collects rare Pokemon and rare things. He actually, after his plans are all thwarted, he pulls a card out, and it's the Ancient Mew card, and he goes, "It all started with this."
Isn't that Pokemon 2000?
Mm-hmm. It's a good
Oh,
movie.
okay, it was.
Oh, I like that
2000.
one.
Okay, right.
See,
I actually liked the line they used on that. Basically, they were saying the whole world was going to turn to ash,
Mm-hmm.
but they meant Ash Ketchum. And I'm like,
You see what they did there? Puns.
that's really clever.
One thing that did annoy me though, when I saw the first movie, Angie and I went and saw the first Pokemon movie, and I went to the very first showing, the very first day it opened. I went on opening day, and I was at the time 22, and I was by far the oldest person there without a kid.
You had me.
Well, yes, we were on a date at the Pokemon movie.
So romantic.
It was very romantic. And so we're watching, and you remember before the actual movie started, they do the shorts. There was I think it was called Pikachu's Vacation was the first one. Or
Was that the one where you spent all the Pichus?
No, the
I
Pichus were later.
Yeah, that was later. But anyways, you see all the Pokemon, you see the different ones on screen for the first time. And I was so annoyed that all the kids were like, Clefairy!
Oh, God.
Bulbasaur! As soon as a Pokemon showed up on screen, like 150 kids all said the name. It's like, come on, guys, shut up. I'm trying to watch a fucking movie here, kids. Come on.
Jeez.
I was that
Old-
grumpy old man in the theater.
Old and cynical Kalen Ferris.
That's
Jeez.
right.
You're showing your age right now.
Totally.
Congratulations.
You know what you should have done? You should have started going, but say the wrong name for the
Yeah. Jigglypuff pops up on screen and you're just like, it's Tangela.
So I started doing along with them, but I was like doing it really overly loud and really sarcastically.
You're an asshole.
Ooh, Abra!
I'm glad I don't remember that. I'm very
Yeah,
glad.
I was kind of a jerk.
You a jerk.
I know, right?
Aw.
So I want to do something a little bit weird here. I want to do a random number generator and just see what our thoughts are about whatever the hell the Pokemon is that it ends up being. So we have
Oh shit.
722 Pokemon here. And I'm going to do just random.org. Do it that way. And let's see. I'm coming up with 523. What's 523? Zebstrika. An electric
Aw.
zebra Pokemon.
And that's the second form, so yeah, that's the badass
Yep.
version. I like that one.
I liked them. I remember them being useful to me. And of course, I loved them to death because I love horses and unicorns.
I like the contrast as opposed to being like mainly white with black stripes on it to being mainly black with white stripes.
And I like how the white down its mane, it went all the way down and formed a tail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's weird having a physical electric Pokemon. So
Not bad.
Yep.
484 is the next one I got. That is...
Palkia. Oh man, now we're talking.
So why is it Water Dragon if it can control space? Or is that the one that controls time? I get to mix it up.
Spatial Pokemon.
Yeah, so what's with the water dragon type? Shouldn't it be like psychic?
Tony, you're asking too many questions.
Well, the conspiracy people are gonna come get me.
Yep.
For that matter, shouldn't water dragon or water flying or whatever, shouldn't that be Lugia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of that one being psychic? Come on,
Yeah, I
Pokemon.
never understood why they had Lugia psychic, especially when it was the Guardian of the Sea.
Right. Yeah, so fuck you, Palkia. Bad design, too. That's where they started getting where they just seemed really odd to me, like generic
Actually,
dragon.
Palkia is my probably most hated legendary. I think it's just dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't find any use for them.
Not a big fan of him.
So you got 105. That is Marowak. Yeah, we talked about Marowak. Let's go to another number here. 683, which is
Aromatisse.
Aromatisse. No idea what the hell that is.
Nope.
Nope.
Generic fairy type. Let's move on. 139 is
Omastar.
Omastar, the first out of the fossil ones that I had gotten. I thought that he looked cooler than Kabuto and Kabutops.
All praise the Helix fossil.
How
I love that they had fossils.
how great was that the internet plays? Their Twitch plays.
Twitch plays Pokemon is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen because so many people came together and they actually beat the game.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
weird
it.
how much they've accomplished. They've beaten almost, I think, several of the games, haven't they? Last time I saw them, they were doing the trading card game,
And
I think they beat that one too.
the first team that they ended up with at the end of the game wasn't bad.
What, do you remember what was on it?
So I know they had Zapdos. I was actually I've got the team up right now. So bear with me. So it had the Lord Helix Fossil Armonite, the Messiah Bird Jesus, who was Pidgeot. They had Zapdos. They had Nidoking, Lapras, and Venomoth.
And were they named A?
So Armonite had its name. Bird Jesus was named
Jesus.
Abadjus. Zapdos was named Adju. Nidoking was Lapras was Air. The Venomoth was Atav.
Better nicknames than I would have came up with. So cool though that they were able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that somebody set that up.
Did the random generator again. I got 53, which is Persian, one of the worst names for any Pokemon. Didn't try at all. I think the only thing worse than that is Seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's a
pretty
breed
bad.
of cat.
Ugh,
Persian.
such a dumb thing. But that actually reminds me of a Pokemon that I wanted to bring up here that it seems like either people love it or hate it. The Vanillite, Vanillux, those ones, the ice cream
Ugh.
ones.
Ugh.
Oh.
I love those little dudes. They're fucking ice cream.
I loved them, but I never understood them.
Oh, I don't understand it at all either. But
Yeah,
it's
that's the thing.
a two-tone cone ice cream thing. Like,
I thought it was so stupid, so silly that it was cute. And I loved them.
are there any other ones that you guys think are like underrated, or you like them even though they're ridiculously dumb? Like, are you a big Slowbro fan or whatever?
Well, one of my favorite Pokemon, which typically isn't liked, is Togekiss.
Oh, I hate
Tog-
Togekiss.
Ever since I started using Togekiss in the Sinnoh region, I was like, "Oh shit, this thing's a beast." It's got Serene Grace was its ability, and it just causes everything to like be affected by ailments more. So you'd use a flinch move or a paralyzing move, and they'd be fucked. It'd affect them so badly, and they'd be able to do nothing. I swept the entire team of legendaries with that thing.
One that I'm not a fan of is Trubbish.
I think you were gonna say Don fan.
Oh fucking hell!
He's a
Yeah, I
garbage bag.
Like
Come
Don
on.
Fan.
Oh, Don Fan's great.
Especially how it spins in the anime. I love that thing.
Don Fan's cool.
Yeah, garbage Pokemon. It makes sense to me. I'm not too
Ugh.
against it.
Yeah, he is a garbage Pokemon.
I always liked Delibird.
Oh, yeah, he was cool.
The dude's the little Santa Claus bird. The penguin. Like,
You know, out of all the Pokemon that I totally ate, Delabird's up there. I'm like, I bet you taste awesome.
did everybody else fall victim to the idea that Steelix was going to be that Crystal Onyx?
No.
Oh, I totally bought into that crap when I was a kid. So I was disappointed when Steelix wasn't some kind of crystal
Crystal
type.
Onyx was so dumb.
It was, in retrospect, but it was still like, there's a crystal Onyx? What? Delibird's fucking awesome. Drew, is there any that stand out to you as like something really cool that everybody else hates or whatever? I can see you being a big fan of like Giraffe Rig.
Giraffe Rig.
Or maybe Wobbuffet.
Wobbuffet.
Wow.
It's close to the Jabba, the Hutt, if you want to consider that for anything.
I like Vulpix. Vulpix is pretty fucking adorable.
Well,
A
actually,
lot of people like Vulpix.
if you look at my thing on Skype, you'll see it's Vulpix
Is that what we were
Llama.
looking at there?
Yeah, so you're gonna tell us really slow and some weird cadence.
All I'm saying is Vulpix is my favorite. Love that motherfucker. It's always my go-to whenever I play Pokemon Stadium. Just saying. Vulpix kicks ass.
I'm a big fan of Garchomp. I like that line.
Just because
Oh,
it's Garchomp.
yeah.
Because he kicks ass. Because
Yeah.
he's really good to use.
Hey, Tony, you wanna know what my favorite Pokemon is?
Vulpix?
No, it's actually Ditto. You wanna know why? Because it's essentially the Kirby of Super Smash Bros.
So my favorite Pokemon's Vulpix. You want to know what my favorite Pokemon is?
It's a Ditto that turns into a Vulpix.
I probably wanted to really say that, but you guys would kick me off, so I decided not to.
We might do that anyway.
Easily one of my favorites of all time is Snorlax. I think he's underrated too. Not only is he good, but he's a giant fucking sleeping bear thing.
He's
I
cute.
do like him, yeah.
I remember
But- Was it you used Snorlax and Rattata? What
What's
was
that? Oh, one
in
of the
game,
teams?
the battle strategy?
Oh, I had a few different strategies.
But didn't you put those two together? Then you had okay,
Gosh,
never mind.
I don't know.
I'm
I'd have to
sorry.
check out my
Okay.
team. It's been a while.
I know.
one of
Snorlax
my,
There's
was
a really
great for
good-
using Toxic.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a good way of using Snorlax in battle.
Yeah, just a stall team, just to run them
Yeah,
out of their
a good
PP.
stall team.
Like belly drum and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
this is there's a kid in my elementary school. We called him Snorlax because he was fat.
Aw.
Jesus.
That's what you get for being a fat ass.
Hey, it's not my fault. Kid could have lost
Oh,
weight.
but-
He chose not to.
All right, so now that we know that Drew's a jerk, what do you want to talk about?
Salamence, as you said? Yeah. Angie likes Salamence, she says.
I like
Who's good?
Salamence. Salamence is pretty beastie.
Son
Stormy. Stormy is fucking awesome.
Dude, Starmie was so tough with
Still is.
Misty.
Fucking Stormy's powerful. I mean, it's got great coverage with Psychic and Water. It can learn Thunderbolt. It's got Rapid Spin, so it can stop any, like, spikes and that type of thing. So, it's a bit of a glass cannon, but it's fucking awesome.
What was one you were saying that you were using to battle a lot, Wago? Was it Togekiss?
Yeah, Togekiss. Togekiss is
Yep.
the man.
What was the strategy on that? I forget.
I already told you it, but Serene Grace.
I know, but I couldn't remember. I'm sorry. There's 722 of them.
Wow, you're old, so we understand.
Serene Grace.
Remember.
You use Serene Grace, it makes like paralysis and flinching worse. So you pretty
Oh.
much can take out anything.
So one of the other random topics I wanted to bring up here, Clefairy was supposed to be really the kind of mascot before Pikachu. Weird or
Thank
it doesn't make
God
sense?
we got Pikachu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
that doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
It is. Yeah, I read about that, and there is a spin-off manga where there's a talking Clefairy that's which is Red's Pokemon.
And if I remember correctly, the first Pokemon that they designed was Rhydon. Might be Rhyhorn,
I think it was Rhyhorn, but you might be right on.
which is weird for me to think that, like, that's the first one, not Bulbasaur, you know?
Right on.
Oh.
You know, what if the first one was Ditto, and they just, hey, Ditto could just turn into every Pokemon. So they just use that idea. Like, hey, Ditto could turn into this when they...
Well, how
rank
can it be
Pokemons
the
up.
first Pokemon that turns into all the other Pokemon if there's no other Pokemon? Stop talking out your ass, Drew.
We'll see.
So which
There's
came first, the Blaziken or the Execute? Oh, never mind.
another random topic. Is Jinx racist?
Yeah.
Not anymore, it's purple now.
Well, they totally changed it because of that, right? Has to be.
Jinx isn't racist. That look is based off a certain fashion style in Japan, and that fashion style is actually considered to look more American.
So what you're saying is that fashion style is racist.
It's not racist. It's to look American, not black.
Yeah, I never thought it was racist. They never meant for it to be racist.
It's just that thing where people put their panties in the wad for sake of. Tony, do not say They didn't wear like they weren't just like, hey, let's be really racist.
No,
right
I don't
now.
think that they were being racist, but right off the bat, I was just kind of like, this is a little uncomfortable.
I never looked at it like that, though.
No,
Maybe I
I
was just
never
too
did
young and
either.
naive. And even when I grew up and got older, and they like told the difference and all the controversy surrounding it just passed, it was just kind of like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's not.
It's a much better idea that they made it purple, so it doesn't seem like that. But when I originally had the blackface thing going on, I was just kind of like, this is really kind of pushing this.
Even, I think the purple face one looks better, anyways.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, I was just reading here.
I think Pokemon should sue anyway. Nicki Minaj totally ripped off.
I'm gonna say I was reading something here. Some people compared Jinx to Mr. Popo on Dragon Ball. I could see that.
Well, on
I think
on Dragon Ball
he's-
Abridged, they have Mr. Popo bang Jinx.
Oh,
Mr. Popo's way more offensive, I would say.
Well, for kids, when they got a hold of Dragon Ball, they made Mr. Popo blue.
There's got to be
And they
some
all-
kind of Mr. Pokemon.
And they also changed Mr. Satan to Hercule, I think, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it weird that Mr. Mime can be female?
no.
Well, shouldn't it be Mrs. Mime?
Yeah. Or at least Ms. Mime.
It's mime.
You know what annoys me? Having Nidoran for male and Nidoran female. You could have just altered that shit when you brought genders in.
Right.
Exactly. That was something that I didn't like. And I was like, oh, they're going to introduce genders in the next one. It's like, wait, I thought they already had them.
I guess the main reason why is because they would change the numbering.
Fuck it, change the numbering. They could have updated that when they changed everything with the typing.
I'll tell you what, if you want to balance it out, just make it to where we have 3 versions of the Dodrio kind of thing, because it doesn't make any sense to have Doduo and Dodrio and not have, like, one with one head. Or the Doug Trio.
Exactly. I was going to bring up Doug Trio, too.
Diglett, and then just 3 of them? And you have Magnemite, and then you have 3 with Magneton?
So what does Diglett look like under there?
We'll never know.
Arceus.
But I've seen a lot of funny pictures.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures where it's just like some really buff dude
I
underground.
hope he's totally fucking like hung majorly under there.
A lot of random ass theories when it comes to that. I hope that we never find out. I think that's one of the ones that we can keep speculative.
I think it's meant to be like a mole, so it's probably just got some big ass claws it burrows with. It's got to have claws. It can learn scratch.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's not digging with just its head. Maybe it is. I don't know. So the last topic I want to bring up here is just something that we talked a little bit about before, but if there's anything else that we need to go with this, it's the idea that is Pokemon too complex now? You've got so many more Pokemon. You've got these ideas. We went from as basic as it was in the first generation to the second one. We had like the night and day system, and you had the calling system. You can attach items and whatever, and it was pretty easy to get involved into it. But now we've got EV training, breeding for certain things. You've got special moves. You've got just like there's so many variations now. I couldn't possibly ever plan out like an actual strategy.
Actually think that's the reason for partially its downfall. Obviously, it couldn't keep that buzz around it for as long as it had at the beginning of its run. But Pokemon, as it's got more advanced, has become less inviting for new players. Before, anybody and their grandma could play Pokemon. It was pretty much just a game of rock, paper, scissors, but a little more advanced. Now there's a whole nother world to it, and don't get me wrong, I don't dislike it. I like, because honestly, the original games have probably bored me now. I like all the bells and whistles, but it's definitely a little more daunting to new people.
It's
What
definitely.
was the last, I'm sorry, what was the last game you played?
I still play all the Pokemon games.
I think some of the new stuff, there is no beating the game. You play what you want to play, and anyone can play that. There are so many things very small children could do on that.
Yeah, I think the new games have added a lot of stuff, but I think most of that should be considered optional. I think that's for the hardcore players to get more replay value out of it. If you wanted to play the new games like the original ones, you could. But then there's also all the other bonus stuff you can do with your Pokemon, after the fact or during. Like, I was never really into getting the ribbons and the contests and all that stuff. I didn't really care about that.
Yeah, that was
I actually hate.
ridiculous.
As far as X, you said what was the last game I played, and it was X and Y, and I've got to say, worst story that any of the games have had.
Oh, I'm sure.
Fucking terrible.
Why isn't Team Rocket still around? God damn it! I don't like this.
I was
team
gonna bring up
Okay,
Team
they've
Rocket
been
before,
defeated
yeah.
twice. You'd think they'd give up. Then again, if you get the downloadable content for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Giovanni's still out there.
Because he's Silver's dad, right?
Yep.
Did you guys ever get sick of Team Rocket in the cartoon?
Oh God, yeah. That's every fucking episode is just.
I liked
Not me. I
when,
never got tired of
I
it.
liked when the other two showed up now and again. Was it like Butch and Cassidy?
Butch and Cassidy.
Cassidy,
Yeah,
yeah.
the two
Yeah.
badasses that could actually get shit done.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they were derpy as fuck too.
How old were you guys when you realized that Jesse and James were named because of Jesse James?
Pretty early
Oh.
on, actually.
Yeah, I
Okay,
actually
good.
caught on to that pretty early, and their Japanese counterparts are named after two famous samurais that had a rivalry, Kojiro Sasuke and Musashi Miyamoto.
That I did not know. But I knew the Jesse James thing right away. And every so often I'll see people posting on the internet like, oh my God, this stuff you never realized when you were a kid. And I'm like, really? You never realized it?
I just never got why Meowth could talk.
Well, they do a whole episode on that, and it's
Yeah.
actually
Mhm.
really fucking sad.
Yeah, he
Yes,
tries
it
to
is.
like impress another Meowth or something, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, that has a trainer. So he's like, "Oh, I've got humans. I don't need you." So he tried to humanize himself.
Mhm.
Fucking probably is gonna be in a lifetime of pain from forcing itself to walk on 2 feet. It doesn't know moves anymore because it learned it all on speech. It's like the most useless, decrepit Pokemon now.
Aww.
Meow, that's right.
Meow, my life's a lie.
Hey, at least it knows how it can make money with Payday.
That's true.
No, it doesn't. That one doesn't. That one's fucking retarded. It didn't know how to do it.
No.
There was an entire episode where this clan wanted Meowth to give it money, so they had to. James threw out his bottle cap collection to rescue Meowth, so they thought it was coins.
Well, he can scratch at least. We know that.
Yeah, that's about it.
Oh man, it's just
Yeah,
gonna be the
it's like
same
the
kind of
most
thing
used-
as
Most useless Meowth ever.
It might be one of the most useless Pokemon ever.
Payday was the only thing it was good for.
Yeah, Days can't even do that.
Hmm. That same thing that was saying like things you didn't realize when you were a kid. Did it also have the whole Ekans and Snake thing?
Yeah.
Uh,
Ekans back. Oh my God.
It's like what? Yeah, right.
Oh, and Nook spelt backwards.
Although the one that it did take me several years to figure out or hear the Articuno, Zapdos,
Yeah.
and Moltres, the Uno Dos Tres.
That I didn't catch on nearly as early as I should, and it pissed me off afterwards.
Like if
Yeah,
it
Lugia
took
would have
me a
been in that
while.
game, it would have been Luquatro,
Yep.
and still would have been water. Should have been water flying. But it's weird to think that 20 years have gone by, Pokemon's still around, kids still love it, and people that are older like us can still be like, "Oh man, I want that fucking Charmander" or something. You know what I mean? So let's wrap this up a little bit here. Any other memories you guys want to touch on? Drew, I'm going to start off with you first.
I remember a long time ago, I heard some of the greatest jokes when it comes to Pokemon, but I can't remember them anymore. But really, the legacy of Pokemon will go down as this. Card game kind of sucked, unless my name is Jester. Anime and the video games are pretty fucking amazing. Really, it's hands down like that.
Angie, anything else you want to bring up?
I was always OCD about collecting them and caring for them. And I have kept so many of my Pokemon for so long, spending hours getting them on to the next game. And I plan on still doing that if they're going to make another game, I'm going to get the other game.
Were you the type
I-
that you would feel bad if they fainted and you didn't heal them too quick?
It depended on which one. Sometimes I would put one out there just to take it, just to faint. Well, I saved the other one that I cared about.
You're like, I'll sacrifice Metapod.
You're like, well, this one can faint. Why I use a potion on this one?
Exactly.
God, remember how awful it would be if you were Metapod or Kakuna fighting another Metapod or Kakuna?
Mm-hmm.
The hardened
String
battles.
shot.
Oh,
String shot.
like
Harden.
I said, I've had a Mew for 16 years. I've never put him in battle once.
But he does have that one really nice ribbon. that you have
Yes,
to
I
pay
gave him all the ribbons. I gave him the most expensive ribbon in the world.
Somebody's favorite. Kaylin, any other topics?
Wow. I think we covered a lot of it. I'm sure after we end this podcast, I'll think of
Yeah.
1,000 things.
Somebody will just be
But-
like, oh yeah, the Magmar thing. And we'll be like, fuck.
Oh yeah. No, but as far as the video games, I still think the video games are fun. I haven't played through X or Y, so I'm a generation behind here. But as far as the card game, I stopped playing that after a couple of decks in there. Still think it's fun, but I think they kind of ruined it when they made everything too dependent on coin flips.
They changed because people were...
Yeah, the people were building, people like me were playing the game and building these decks that could go and kick ass. So they're like, no, we have to make everything based on a coin flip. So that kind of took some of the fun out of it. And I kind of got disinterested when those were no longer allowed. As far as the cartoon goes, love the cartoons from the beginning. Once the Orange Islands thing started, I thought it was kind of weird. And then they did, they're still making them. But I don't watch any of the new ones.
They're cute, but have absolutely nothing to do with the games.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. You guys have seen this, what's it called? The Pokémon Tournament game that's coming out. Pokémon Tournament that's going to be released for Wii U. It's a fighting game.
Look it up, and it shall be for another podcast.
Yeah, I thought that one was cool. So all in all, I think it's a great franchise. They've done great things, and who knows where they're going to take it in the future.
And just from talking about this, I thought of two more questions I'm going to do at the end here. But Wago, any other topics you want to bring up?
Well, for me, Pokemon and pro wrestling have always been there for me as a kid, and they're still there for me now. Sometimes they piss me off. Sometimes they make me laugh. Sometimes they make me want to shoot myself in the face.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all in all, it's always going to be a big part of my life, and nothing can take away the memories of me at such a young age hanging out with all my friends on my street, and the one thing that brought us all together was pro wrestling and Pokemon. So
That's cool.
So one of my last questions here. What was your favorite thing to name the rival? I always liked calling him douchebag.
I actually liked Gary, so I ended up calling him Gary. But initially, I think it was Dick Fart.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think most of the time
Ass-face.
Ass
might have
Hat
kept
was
his name.
one of them. Yeah.
I think just Jerk. I think I called him Jerk.
Geez, you're like the least cool guy ever. You
used
just
to-
called him jerk.
Meanie guy.
Before me and my
Meanie.
brother got on well, I used to call him Philip because I fucking hated my brother.
I just beat you in this game, Philip. You jerk.
Especially Philip because he hated being called Philip.
Did you put your character's name as Terrence?
Should have. You just lost in the game, Terrence. I sure did, fella.
It would go with Dick Fart, right? Very last question I want to ask here. A lot of rumors going around that we're going to get some kind of announcement for a new generation or a new Pokemon game that's out there. Maybe sort of like a remix, reversion of something else like Pokemon Z, and maybe another Yellow, since we had Fire Red and Leaf Green, have it like Lightning Yellow or whatever like that. What are some generation ideas that you guys would like to see them implement in the future? I mean, I know we all could say some kind of an MMO, and we could all say like some kind of game where you can play all the regions and stuff, but just if you're going to name a 2 set, we've had Black and White, X and Y, we've had, gems, we've had colors. What would you go with? Anybody have any ideas?
I still sort of expect there to be some kind of Z.
I think C has been announced. I think they're just being very slow on the release, so I'm hoping for some big updates. Uh, but as far as, like, I think now that they've gone as far as they have, I want them to hit 1,000 Pokemon.
Yeah,
And the
I think that would
1,000
be really
Pokemon,
neat.
and the 1,000 Pokemon could be the Millennium Pokemon, and it'll be Chris Jericho.
It could be that.
They can do the countdown in the game. Like when you're evolving, it can do the 10, 9.
Oh, way to tie it together, guys.
You want to know what I'm waiting for?
Chris Jericho?
Yeah, but to be for real, I'm just waiting for Pokemon Snap 2.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I will play the shit out of that.
Hell yeah.
Bum, 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 bum,
I'm so
bum.
disappointed. I thought Pokemon Snap had some great content, and then when I played it as an adult and beat it in like a couple hours, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, I rented that. That was not one I ever wanted to buy. I rented it and
It
beat
was
it
so
beat it in an
cute,
evening.
though.
My
I
mom-
liked it.
My mom got it from a pawn shop. That's how I got all my Nintendo 64 games. My mom just got
Wonderful.
all the good from a pawn shop. So that one was actually a lot of fun. The wonderful thing was really fucking annoying too. I just
Hey,
like throwing shit at Psyduck. That was the funnest thing about that game.
Hey, I almost got Lapras in the shot. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's an eyeball slightly. That's great. New high score.
Right. So it's a mixture of that. I've always enjoyed the Pokemon Stadium game, so just like some type of fighting type of game I would really enjoy. But you already kind of said that they were going to have a tournament type of thing. Pokemon Stadium was really one of my favorite things about the Pokemon series, just because it was just an easy thing. You have friends over, you just put on, everyone can like connect their own game into the system, and you could battle each other's Pokemons via that.
And you could play the normal Game Boy game on there with the extra speed, so you can get shit done faster.
It was just fuck. The Nintendo 64 is actually pretty useful for that.
So awesome.
Yeah, you had mentioned just a second ago, Tony, about the MMO. That would be the thing. They are missing out on so much money. They could have been doing this for years now, like World of Warcraft, but Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know how many millions of people would want to do that?
You know what the biggest issue with that is? So, MMOs, typically, all the battle is in the same real time as you. Well, Pokemon battles are turn-based. So how do you do that in an MMO world?
I guess you just don't make it turn-based.
But then it's not Pokemon anymore. It's a different genre of game.
Well, then you can make it turn-based. You just give, certain people a certain amount of time. You get 10 seconds to make your move. I mean, that's kind of how you do it online with the Pokemon Battle Revolution and some of the other, like, Pokemon Stadium type games that are online.
Well, it looked like
I don't know, but I
you
think
just
that's
found
the biggest
out
flaw.
it's a fighting game.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah,
might
yeah,
not
or
get
like
turns.
like Pokemon Tournament. That's
Yeah, but then it
fighting.
stops being Pokemon at that point.
No, it doesn't.
It's not the same. It's just
it doesn't.
It's not the classic Pokemon games. It's just an expansion.
Well, in
of
that
it.
case, Pokemon Snap was nothing like Pokemon.
Yeah, that's not a Pokemon game then.
I don't consider it a part of the main Pokemon titles. It's just
It's not.
It's just a fun distraction.
Well, that's who's to say that the MMO
An MMO
can't
shouldn't
that?
be a fun distraction, and the MMO needs to be epic. It needs to be perfect. Because if they fuck it up, I'll never forgive them.
Until the next one comes out and you buy that too.
It would
Yep.
be kind of curious, though, if,
Yeah.
because you would be able to personalize what the trainer looks like for sure, but it would be like, what do they limit you down for your starter? Do you get to pick from all the starters? Do you get to pick from even more?
Everybody gets a mill tank.
Oh,
Or do you just, everybody gets a Magikarp and you have to suffer? Or, like, who's even worse than Magikarp? There's somebody out there that's worse, right?
Caterpie.
I don't like Feebas. It's probably better, but it's ugly looking thing.
Yeah, he's pretty bad.
but if you stick with it,
But yeah, he's pretty cool.
Was it Melodic or Milotic or Milutic?
Milotic.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I think that wraps us up for this podcast. So, last thing we have to do is just give out some plugs. Drew, anything you want to promote?
Well, you can go follow me on Twitter at DrewSofY, and you go to my YouTube, Make Frickin' Duncan, where content It may not be unanimous, but the content will be up there eventually. And I want to tell you guys one joke before we go.
There we go.
All right. So I'm going to get a little close. Not too close, but a little close. So,
Jesus Christ.
okay.
Just fucking do it already.
Well, you won't shut up. I'm supposed to tell a joke. Okay. So, what's a low-fat Pokemon?
I don't know, Drew. What is a low-fat Pokemon?
It's Butterfree.
All right.
I haven't heard that.
I like
Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome.
I love it. Angie, anything you want to promote?
Mew is the best, cutest Pokemon, and you will love it forever.
That's a good promo.
Kaylin?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me here on the Tony panel tonight for Fanboy's Annoyance. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at Kalen Ferris. And if you'd like to test your knowledge of Pokemon, make sure you check out sporkle.com. There's all kinds of quizzes. You can test your Poke Trivia. SPORCLE.
And Wago?
I'd like to give a big shout out to Flake. Flake sponsored today's episode. So, but yeah, you can check me out at Stephen Wago on the Twitter and generally everywhere. Stephen Wago.
All right, guys, from my side of things, just keep following A Mango Tree and Tony Mango and Fanboys Anonymous and Smark Out Moment and All Talk Show all over the place at all those things on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever the case may be. Pay attention to more information about Pokemon coming to fanboysanonymous.com, because if they do announce something, we might be writing up some different articles about that as well. And leave your comments below. Tell us your thoughts on the different topics we talked about today. Who are your favorite Pokemon? What are your funnest memories from the past? What do you think about these conspiracy theories and all that other kind of stuff? And what do you think the future of Pokemon is going to be as well? Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button as well. And we'll see you next time, everybody. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for listening. I'm Tony Mango, and I'm a fanboy. Adios, everyone.